Hey everyone, Sarah Picaro here today to answer the question, uh, am I a narcissist magnet? How to know and what to do about it. So I get asked all the time, what do I do? I feel like I'm just attracted to a narcissist, like I'm just a magnet for them. And I know that I'm a codependent, I'm an empath, and I got away from one narcissist, but I just feel like I'm magnetized to it and attracted to them. And I don't know what to do about it. Now it's getting me into a place where I just don't want to date anymore. I don't want to go out anymore because they're just everywhere. So there are some things to understand about a narcissist. First of all, they're extremely sensitive, and most people that have been with them will describe themselves as being hypersensitive now because it's like they've just been exploited and exposed. But narcissists are also extremely touchy and sensitive, right? I had a lawyer tell me one time when dealing with one, it's like poking a bear, right? And they're gonna go away for a time, but they're very sensitive. They take everything as a criticism, are very defensive towards everything, and they're pulled towards people who will tolerate them. They are pulled towards people who will put up with them. And it's like in the beginning, they can almost sense it, like they can smell it, they can sniff it out. There's an analogy out there that I think is pretty appropriate that it's like they're a shark and they can smell blood, and you are this little fish swimming along and been hooked and maybe released, but are still wounded, still bleeding. And it's like a narcissist is like a shark that can smell it. They can sniff you out that way, and they have a sense. And we're going to get to why that is later on, what it is that you are looking for in the relationship with them. And there are ways to get them off your scent. There are ways to repel them, but this, of course, is easiest to do in the beginning of a relationship when you very first meet them. But in order for that to happen and for that to occur, you have to have someone who A, knows about what to look for, possibly has experienced it in the past, and knows the signs, right? So it's easier done in the beginning of a relationship when you get that first inkling, that first sense, that first inner knowing something is off, something is wrong. This is not a road that I want to go down. But what occurs is you may find yourself further down that road than you would like to be, maybe married, maybe with kids, or maybe, in a situation where you're tied into the experience with that person. Maybe you own a business together or a house together. So it obviously becomes more difficult to get out of the further down that road you are. So in the beginning, before they got you hooked, they actually have no problem letting you go. And there's a lot of testing in the beginning of a relationship with a narcissist. That's why the love bombing. If they determine that they are somebody, or that you are somebody that they want, they will bomb you with love. And I had a person ask about that. What is love bombing? I mean, if you think about it, like, it's like literally just sending in bomb after bomb after bomb of love, just showering you, completely inundating and surrounding you with love, with gifts, with words of affirmation, with physical touch. That's why a lot of times sex is a huge part of a relationship with a narcissist in the beginning. They will do any and everything that they think you want, whatever they need to do to get you hooked onto. It's almost like it's a drug, right? And some people have said being with a narcissist, or leaving, is harder than getting off of drugs, because you do become addicted to the highs and lows of that. So in the beginning, before you're hooked, they have no problem letting you go because they haven't gotten anything from you. They haven't got much from you. They haven't really used you, and you haven't allowed them to. But once they become attached to you, it's more difficult to get away from that because they will continue coming back for their supply. It's like somebody who is addicted to drugs and they now have this good supplier or dealer. They're not just going to go try and find that from someone else. They're going to continue to go back to the source, or back to the person that they've gotten it from before. It just kind of logically makes sense. What also logically makes sense is that the best way to repel them is not feed them. What you feed grows. So if you want them to starve or die, then don't feed them. But they're very sneaky, very tricky, and very manipulative, and they have spent a lifetime studying this, of how to get their way, and exactly what to do, and exactly what to say, when to say, where to say it, how to say it. And even before you coming into their life, they they have spent a lifetime doing this with other people. So they know exactly what to do. And this is in the context of a partnership, not being raised by a parent who is narcissist. So, well, what does a narcissist eat? Okay, if that's the answer, is to stop feeding them. What is it that I'm feeding them, that they're eating, that's keeping them coming back? Well, that's a good question. You, your insecurities, your weaknesses, your vulnerabilities, they will pull them out of you and they will exploit them. And they do this very creatively in the beginning of a relationship where they're seeming like they're getting to know you and they're asking questions that they're learning about you. And in this phase of the relationship, it feels like this is a person who's very caring. They're taking the time to get to know me. They're doing these wonderful things for me and with me. And really, when that's occurring, they're learning about your weaknesses, your insecurities, and your vulnerabilities, and then they're using them. A narcissist will do something called matching and mirroring. And they rely on being able to do this in the relationship. They rely on the ability to get you to a place where all you do is doubt yourself, where you're in a constant state of fear. And you don't know which way is up or which way is down or which way is left or right. And you become so paralyzed and so afraid that if you do anything or you make a move outside of checking in with them or one that's okay with them, that your entire world will come crashing down. And they do this spiritually, emotionally, mentally, financially. So even if you know you haven't done anything wrong, for example, you will begin to question and doubt and wonder if you have. And that's what keeps feeding them is doubt, fear, questioning, just wondering, no, I don't know if I did do that. I don't know if it happened like that. So when you question and when you doubt and when you wonder, that's what they eat. If you are strong and you are confident and you are self-assured, they don't eat that. That's actually what repels them. So if you're asking what feeds them, it's doubt, insecurities, weaknesses, vulnerabilities, fears, and what starves them is being self-assured, confident, trusting, and knowing, and having those boundaries in place that when they're crossed, there are consequences. What happens in a relationship with a narcissist is they are constantly and continuously projecting their own fears onto you. They've got their fears, like we talked about, they're highly sensitive, and their own insecurities and own weaknesses, and they project them onto you. And it may not seem like that's occurring, but it is. And when they do that, it gets you to question yourself, and then you feel the fear yourself because you're naturally probably a caring, kind, compassionate, forgiving person. And you see and know and feel that they're hurting with all of these things that they're sharing with you, but they're sharing with them with you on purpose to get you hooked in, to feel the fear and to feel the sadness and to feel bad for them and to have you accept them as yours and believe that there's something that you can do to help them feel better. This is where the people pleasing comes into place. It's a fawning response, a trauma response called fawning. So when this happens and when this occurs and you feel the fear yourself and you accept it as yours and think, I don't like feeling this. I can see that this person's distraught. They don't like feeling this. I'm going to do something to make them feel better. And then when they feel better, they'll stop hurting me. They'll stop projecting this stuff onto me because, of course, they've got excuses, laundry list of excuses of why they did that. Oh, it was because my dad left me when I was a kid. It was because my mom was an alcoholic. It was because I got abused. It was because I got all of this stuff. And of course, naturally, why would you question that? Like, it's a horrible thing to happen to a person. And most narcissists will use that, will use their past, their very traumatic past, and all of their inner hurts, pains to project onto you to share with you, and then they blame you for it, right? Well, if only you wouldn't do this, if only it weren't for you doing that. And that's what gets you stuck in the perpetual cycle of hurt, of blame, of pain, of self-doubt, of self-criticism and judgment, because you try and step into that space and fix it or make it better or alleviate or take away the fear and the pain from them. And then you get caught in that web because what you didn't work. Even though you tried everything and even though you tried your best, they're still hurting, they're still projecting their pain onto you, and you're doing whatever it is that you can think of to do to try and have them feel better. And you get caught in that cycle of self-criticism because it didn't work, of self-doubt, of thinking you didn't do enough. And if you only do more, it will just get better. And when you're actually in that cycle, the more you do, the worse it becomes. And then the narcissist will walk away as if they've done nothing. And you're sitting there just feeling completely open, drained, exhausted, wounded. And when you get to that place that you accept the narcissist pain as your own, when you take it off of their plate and you put it on yours, even though you've already got a full plate, then they usually back off for a time. And that's why they're not mean all the time. And in that space and in that time when they're not mean, you think, oh, maybe it worked. Maybe they finally realized. Maybe they do see me. Maybe they did hear me. Maybe they do appreciate me now. And you've given them a break. When you've accepted that pain, when you've freed them from having to feel it or carry it, and you've taken it and you put it onto your plate, it's almost like unconsciously they've said, well, I can't carry this pain, so here, I'm going to project it onto you. And you fight about it because you don't want to carry it, but then you finally break down and you're exhausted and you give in and you go, okay, fine, and then you take it. And when you do that, you've relieved them of the pain, and then they back off for a time, right? That's why it's not always bad. And in such a twisted relationship, and it's the very twisting of this type of relationship that the narcissist thrives on, that they want with you, that they're creating with you. And it's exactly what feeds them. It's exactly what sustains this and keeps this pattern going. It's like you get stuck in this loop. When you accept, when they open a wound within you and you accept that as your own, uh, then they feel better about themselves because they've made you feel worse. Think playground bully, right? But then they give you something as a reward for it. Then they give you a break. Then they, are nice to you. Then they buy you flowers, and then they compliment you. And then they say, you know what, you're right. You're right. It's me, right? And then they usually back off and they give you something that makes you feel good, that makes you feel heard, seen, that makes you feel really special. And they do that, they give that to you so that they are in control, so that they can then take that thing away. They give it to you so that they can take it, right? It's like that Indian giving thing. I'm going to give you this and then I'm going to take it away. And especially if it's something you want, this thing that you're like, if you could just, and then they go, okay, that's exactly what I'm going to give them. And when I give them that, I can then take it away. So I'm in control. This is the narcissist way of thinking. And then when it's taken away, you wonder where it went and you go looking for it and you go begging them to have it back. See how this works? And what it is approval. You want the approval of the narcissist. And that approval is something that you wanted before the narcissist came into your life. That's a deep-rooted issue where you didn't get the approval, maybe in another relationship, or maybe from a family member, or maybe when you were younger. That approval, you want to be seen, heard, validated, appreciated, accepted, and loved. You want to be approved of. And you didn't get it. You didn't get it long enough. You didn't get it enough. You didn't get it in the right ways. Maybe this emotional void that you still have. You want to feel special. You want to feel worthy of love. Love is one of the highest vibrations and one of the most incredible feelings. And that's why people stay in relationships, because they say, well, I love this person and then this person loves me. I know it. It's just that, they had a really terrible upbringing. It's just that they have a really tough job. They're just really high pressure under stress. And then you begin making all these excuses for these patterns and these behaviors. And then it becomes a really dependent bond, like a locked in bond over accepting pain to get them to try and approve of you. So I'm going to say that again. It becomes a dependent bond. You get locked into this accepting pain, accepting mistreatment, accepting belittlement to try and get this person to approve of you, to tell you that you're good enough, to make you feel that you're good enough. And that draws them to you. And maybe it's what draws you to them, because it's this challenge. I want approval. You're going to give it to me, but then you're going to take it away. And it's almost like a challenge to get it back. And when you're around a narcissist and you really are honest with yourself about the dynamic in this pattern, that you're stuck in, that's what you'll start to see is this push-pull dynamic, the highs and the lows. And it's the best way to repel a narcissist is to not engage. They don't care if the attention that they get is negative, positive, anywhere in between. Any attention is attention to them. So when you're not giving them attention, you're not giving them what they want, you're starving them. So the best response is no response, right? Zero emotion, poker face, Lady Gaga, just a business-like transaction, just the facts. They will not get attached to you if they can't get from you. So when you're not giving them any attention, when you're just a business-like transaction, all facts, Lady Gaga, poker face, they're not going to want to be around you because they're not getting anything from you. And this is the exact like behind the scenes of everything that a narcissist does. And they intentionally and purposely create this dynamic, this push-pull, this bond. And that's the very bond that they use to hurt you over and over and over again. And you get sucked into that. You get stuck in that. So the best way to repel a narcissist is a long way to say to not engage, right? To go no contact, to gray rock. That's why those methods and those terms are out there, because they work and they're effective. But if you are wounded and you are still seeking the approval, just wanting to show them, wanting to prove to them, wanting to be right, then you're engaging and you're going to engage and get sucked and stuck into that bond. So that's why it's called trauma bond, right? It's a bond, and it's a bond of trauma. Approval, disapproval, approval, disapproval. So when you break that and you don't need that or want that or seek that or try and get that from them, you get it from yourself and you heal those inner wounds. Or you get it from healthy, caring, kind, compassionate people who actually care about you and care about helping you, not hurting you. There's a much better way and place to get the approval that you're seeking, that you need to heal and to grow. But it all starts from a desire within you to want to break that bond. And many people get locked into that bond and want to still make the narcissist change or think that they can in some way. You will never, ever, ever, I don't care how hard you try, you will never change a narcissist. The only person you can ever change is you. And if you're in a position where maybe it's not you, but you're a family member or you're a friend, and you're seeing a loved one in this push-pull dynamic and relationship, I know it sucks and I know it hurts, but there's nothing you can do to help them. You can be there to support them and guide them and listen to them. But most people find it really difficult to do that without wanting to give advice or without telling them, don't you see, right? And that's like them being told what to do. No one likes to be told what to do. So they're going to see you as part of the problem. That's not what people who are stuck in that bond need. They need just an open mind, an open heart, someone to listen to and say, I support you, I love you, I care about you. They don't need to be told what to do. If you think about the situation they're in, they are constantly being told what to do, and that what they do is not good enough, that they didn't do it the right way, they didn't do it for long enough, whatever the angle is. So if you feel like you're a narcissist magnet and you're ready to do the inner work to heal those inner wounds, yours has nothing to do with them and everything to do with what it is about you that's seeking that approval in a person, in a way, or in a place where you're never, ever, ever going to get it or be satisfied getting it. You may get little breadcrumbs of it, but that's exactly what it is to keep you starving and coming back for more. That's not the right place or way to get what you're looking for. So if you're ready to do the inner work to heal those inner wounds, then I would love to talk to you more about how we work together to do just that. But you've got to be there. You've got to be in that place or else it doesn't work. So, I would love to talk to you more about hypnosis, about rapid transformational therapy, about the processes and methods that I use to guide people to that inner place. So when you're ready, you can reach out. You can use the links in the description of this video for us to connect and for you to learn more about possibly working together one-on-one. Until then, stay strong, stay healthy.